Hello everyone, I wanted to make this quick video illustrating how to use the official ICD-10 CM codebook. So in the front of the book you will find the official coding guidelines. There's section 1, then B are the general coding guidelines, C are chapter specific, then we have section 2, selection of the principal diagnosis, section 3, reporting additional diagnoses. Finally, section 4, which is the diagnostic coding and reporting guidelines for outpatient services, as well as the appendix L right here for the present on admission reporting guidelines. Again, all that's at the front of your book. Also at the very, very front are, some books might be different. This particular book has the 10 steps for coding, and then the general section of the conventions, general coding guidelines, and chapter specific guidelines are all listed out here in an appendix or an outline format as well. Next, behind these official guidelines is what we call the alphabetical index. So this is where you actually look up your diseases, injuries, whatever diagnosis you're coding. This has different parts, but what I wanted to show you, this whole section with all these gray pages is part of that index to diseases and injuries. Then directly behind that is the tabular list of diseases. So step 1, you identify the scenario you're coding. You will identify your diagnosis. You come here and look up that diagnosis by the main term, which is the noun, the name of the condition, the name of the disease. Find your subterm. You're given a code or part of a code. Then you come to the tabular with that code and you do what we call verify the code. And I'm going to show you some examples of that. The next thing I wanted to go over is the alphabetical index has different parts. There's the regular alphabetical index, and it goes from A to Z. Then right behind that is the neoplasm table. When we get to coding the neoplasm table, I'll show you how to use this neoplasm table. Behind the neoplasm table, we have the table of drug and chemicals. Again, I'll show you how to use that when we get to that section of coding. And then finally, in the back of our alphabetical index, we have the external cause index, which again, when we get to that section, I'll show you how to use that. But all of these are part of our alphabetical index. So let's start. Let's say that our patient has colitis. So we're going to go to C, and we're going to look up colitis. So I'm going to go to COL. So colitis starts down here, and there's all these specific types if we know the type of colitis. If we don't know, we're going to pick the unspecified one, which is always right next to the main term code. So if we go to the beginning of colitis, we see also enteritis, or code K52.9. So now I'm going to flip to K52.9 in the index, the tabular list back here. K52.9, right here, non-effective gastroenteritis and colitis unspecified. It tells us that colitis, not otherwise specified, is a choice, so we know that we picked the correct code. K52.9. Now let's say that our patient has an appendicitis. So let's look that up. So why don't you pause the video, try to find the code yourself, and then unpause when you think you have the correct code. So for appendicitis, we're going to go to the very beginning to A, and then to APP. The nice thing about the alphabetical index is it gives you at the top of the pages what the pages run to, so you know where to stop. So appendicitis, we'll say that ours was acute. So K35.80 is acute. If we didn't know, again, if it was an unspecified, you would pick that main one right beside the term that you're looking up, the K37. But ours was acute, so we're picking K35.80. Again, once you look it up here, you always verify in the tabular list. So we're going to verify K3580. K3580, unspecified acute appendicitis. Acute appendicitis not otherwise specified. So that is the one we want. And finally, let's code one more. We're going to code a fracture of the right radius, and it was the shaft. So our main term in that is going to be fracture. Again, pause the video, see if you can find the code, and then unpause when you think you have it. So we're going to go to fracture. And we're going to pick dramatic, and then radius. So we're going to go to R. Radius, and we said it was the shaft. So under fracture, radius, shaft, we have S52.30. There's a dash and a check. And why I picked this code is because I wanted to point out a dash and a check tells you that there's an additional code required. So this is a perfect example of why you can never just code solely from the alphabetical index. You always need to verify in our tabular. So we're going to go to code S52.30. Okay, so S52.30. You'll see it tells us right here we need another digit, a sixth character. So ours was the right. So we're going to pick S52.301. Now it gives us another direction. We need a seventh character. And if you need to find your seventh characters, you want to go to the beginning of the category. So we're going to flip back here. And it tells us at the beginning of category S52 for fracture, the appropriate seventh character is to be added to all codes from category S52 unless otherwise indicated. So we would pick A for an initial encounter for a closed fracture. You can see all the other choices. I won't read them to you. But our code would then be 752.301A. Again, that seventh character note lets you know you need a seventh character for this code.